If you're seeing this picture for the first time, one of the ideas that might come up to your mind, this is some sort of an underground temple, and that's not wrong. This is actually right, but this is also something else. This is a stepwell, which is very similar in concept to a traditional well where you have to dig deep to reach the underground water, except that stepwells are constructed on a massive scale and have a long flight of steps that descend underground to reach the water level. Welcome to Rani Ki Vav, which translates to the Queen's Stepwell, constructed during the reign of the Solanki dynasty, also called the Chalukya dynasty, and this period was known for its incredible buildings and artwork, commissioned by Queen Udayamati in honor of her late husband, King Bhima I, as a memorial to his reign and achievements. Historians say that the building commenced in 1063 AD and was finished 20 years later. The site is located 2 kilometers to the northwest of the town of Patan, in the city of Gujarat in modern-day India. The historic town of Patan was a rich and flourishing city during ancient times, and was actually the capital of the Solanki dynasty. It includes many other magnificent sites with amazing structures. One of the very famous is the Sahasralinga tank or reservoir, also a water structure, and also built during the Solanki period. When I first saw this place, I asked myself, what is the reason behind constructing a stepwell? Couple of things. First is that the entire region of West India has what is called a monsoonal climate zone, which is bone dry for much of the year. Second is the region's sandy soil that absorbs water easily. Let me briefly define how that works. A monsoon is caused by seasonal shifts in the wind. The winds shift because temperature of the land and temperature of the water are different as seasons change. During summer, monsoons can cause the heaviest rain. Warm water in the ocean evaporates, rising into the air. As a result, the wind changes direction and moisture blows toward the land. The warm moisture air then condenses and becomes rain. Sandy soils are highly permeable soils, meaning that they absorb water easily through time, sinking it to the bottom until reaching a non-permeable soil layer. Due to these conditions, it was essential to guarantee a year-round water supply, particularly in these arid regions, where the water table could be inconveniently buried 10 stories underground, requiring stepwells to be constructed to a great depth. The Vavs, which are the Gujarati native tongue equivalent of stepwells, had multiple functions. They were used for drinking, washing, bathing, and the irrigation of crops, in addition to serving as a cool retreat during hot summer months. This temple stepwell was a place of social and sometimes religious gatherings. It is one of the most ornate examples of this unique architectural form. It stretches over 64 meters long, 20 meters wide, and 27 meters deep. Now that we know why build a stepwell and what it was used for, let's find out why carve so many beautiful sculptures everywhere, literally everywhere inside the stepwell. And this would require us to outline Indian mythology in the simplest form. Let's dive in. Indian myths have a long history that dates back to ancient texts called the Vedas. Before the discovery of writing, they were passed down orally. Then they were written during the period from 1500 to 500 BCE approximately. They are covering topics from religious practices and philosophy to how the universe is structured. Upon reading these texts together, one would get a really detailed picture of the foundations that the modern Indian society is built on. In addition to the Vedas, there are other two prominent stories, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata examines ideas of right and wrong through its many characters, while the Ramayana focuses on showing us examples of ideal behavior and values. These texts are the first layer of understanding the mythology. The second layer is the group of gods and goddesses, each with their own role in the universe and in people's lives. They aren't just symbols, they actually represent big ideas, natural events, and what people in society value, all mixed into the religion. This group has sort of ranking, but they all rely on each other in a way that reflects old Vedic teachings. Three main gods are Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Brahma is in charge of creating things, Vishnu kinda keeps things going, and Shiva is responsible for when things need to end. These tasks are key to how the universe works. Then there are goddesses like Sarasvati, the goddess of speech, wisdom, and learning, Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, fortune and prosperity, and Parvati, the goddess of power and motherhood. They are very important, and they do more than just support their husbands, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva respectively. They show that female gods are really respected in Indian culture. The stepwell is associated with the tradition of the Vaishnava cult. The incarnations of the god Vishnu have been depicted in this vav in various forms, called the avatars, which are the 10 incarnations of Vishnu, including the Matsya, fish, Kurma, the turquoise, Varaha, the boar, Narishma, the man-lion, Vamana, the dwarf, Parashurama, the warrior with an axe, Rama, the prince, Krishna, the divine herdsman, Buddha, the enlightened one, and Kalki, the future warrior. Each avatar represents a different era in Hindu mythology, symbolizing the preservation and protection of the world. According to the belief, Vishnu didn't just have 10 avatars. Some say he had 24 avatars. One of those avatars is called Narayana, which is associated with cosmic waters, wells, tanks, and stepwells. This stepwell is dedicated to the god Vishnu. This image here shows the god Vishnu reclining on what they call the Shisha, the mythical serpent, replicates the myth associated with the beginning of creation according to the Hindu mythology. Also, there are 15 images of Devis or goddesses associated with the women's cult. These images depict the myths associated with the goddess Parvati as the Sati separated from her partner Shiva, and emphasize the memorial character of the monument. As this stepwell is constructed by the queen for her departed husband, the images of the goddess performing austerities could be said to be expressing the queen's own yearning to be reunited with her husband in future life. This vav represents the values and ideologies of Hindu women in the medieval ages. The serpent maidens, also called Nagakanya, and the Asparas, a type of female spirit of the cloud and waters, according to the tradition were conceived as dwellers of the water. Various sculptures of serpent maidens, Asparas, are seen in this vav. Rani Ki Vav is renowned for its intricate carvings and elaborate architectural design. The stepwell is divided into 7 levels of stairs, each adorned with over 1,000 meticulously carved sculptures. These sculptures were not only artistic masterpieces, but also served as visual narratives for the people. They depicted stories from Hindu mythology, conveying moral and religious lessons. For instance, the sculpture of Narasimha shows the fierce man-lion avatar protecting his devotee Prahlada, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. The carvings also include intricate floral patterns and geometric designs, showcasing the artisan's incredible skill and attention to detail. Floral motifs such as the lotus flower symbolize purity and divine beauty, while geometric patterns reflect the advanced mathematical knowledge and the aesthetic sensibilities of the craftsman. Additionally, you can find carvings of various animals like elephants, lions, and horses. The carvings of Rani Ki Vav are a testament to the artistic excellence and religious devotion of the Solanki period. Each sculpture, whether of a deity, celestial being, or a decorative motif, adds to the rich tapestry of stories and symbols that make this stepwell a unique architectural marvel, showing that its construction was no small feat. It required advanced engineering knowledge and a set of architectural skills, as well as a deep understanding of the local environment. The stepwell faces the east, its axis deviating only 3 degrees clockwise from the east, and it possesses all the 4 principal components of a fully developed stepwell of its type. A stepped corridor beginning at ground level above in the front and leading down to the underground tank, compartmented at regular intervals with colonnaded multi-storied pavilions, a draw well at the rear end, and a large tank or kund for collecting the well's surplus water, located between the stepped corridor and the well. First, builders selected the construction location. It had to be close to the Sarasvati River to ensure a constant water supply. Then they began the excavation, digging deep enough to access the groundwater. In modern times, soil boring techniques are used to identify the soil layers, water level, and the tools required in the excavation process. We don't actually know until now what steps they took when deciding upon a location for construction. Next, they laid the foundation using large interlocking sandstone blocks. Sandstone was chosen because it's both strong and easy to carve. These blocks were meticulously placed to create a sturdy base that could support the weight of the entire structure. Once the foundation was in place, the builders began constructing the walls and the well shaft. They used more sandstone blocks, carefully fitting them together without the use of mortar. This method, called dry masonry, relied on the precise cutting and placement of stones to ensure stability. As the walls rose, skilled artisans began carving intricate designs and sculptures directly into the stone. These carvings weren't just for decoration, they also helped distribute the weight of the structure evenly, adding to its strength. The stepwell was designed with 7 levels and constructed in 4 stages. Stage 1 includes the first pavilion. The first pavilion originally had 2 stories, of which only 12 plinths exist in its lower story. A plinth is the column base, the lowermost part of the column. In its original form, this section had 3 rows of pillars on each story. In the second stage, there are 5 principal high platforms and a 4-story pavilion of which only the lowest story exists. The third stage of Rani Ki Vav is the largest and retains 4 out of the 6 high terraces. In addition, there are series of parallel and cross steps spanning the entire width of the corridor, accessing the intermediate landing. The fourth stage had 2 parts. The first part was the kund. The kund is the deepest part, having a rectangular tank with a depth of 23 meters, attached to the well to store and enable access to water. To reinforce and prevent the collapse of the well cavity, the vertical surfaces on either side of the well cavern were buttressed by a 2-storied framework of pillars and beams placed on the bed of the tank. The second story seems to have been originally sealed with angular stone slabs, adding strength to the pillared frame. The fourth pavilion has 7 stories. Of the 7, 5 lowest stories and pillars and plinths of the 6th story survive. Unlike other pavilions, the lowest stories were braced by the traditional craftsmen by filling in the intercolumnar spaces with ornate walls to ensure stability and effective counterbalancing of lateral thrust and water pressure. The deep, narrow design of the stepwell helped keep the water cool and protected it from contamination. To ensure a continuous supply of water, the builders connected the well shaft to the Sarasvati River as we mentioned before. This connection allowed the water to flow into the stepwell and helped maintain the groundwater level. It was a brilliant example of ancient hydrology and sustainability. Throughout the construction, the builders had to carefully balance the aesthetic and functional aspects of the stepwell. Every carved figure, every stone placed with precision had to serve both purposes. Coming to the hydrology part, during the operation, the kund of Rani Ki Vav is filled up with water during the rainy seasons through a connection to the well. Water enters through an opening in the circular well, and depending on the season, a particular layer would get filled up with water. During the rainy seasons and floods, water would fill up to layer 3 or layer 4, while during the dry season, water would recede to layer 6 or 7, when people had to go all the way down to get water. Let us understand this architecturally. Rani Ki Vav is divided into 7 parts, in which the lowest part and the main tank is filled with water. When the water from the well is completely filled, the water moves forward and fills the next tank. The third pavilion is filled with water and the well is filled. Then the water goes ahead to the second pavilion and so on to the first pavilion. This way, the steps in the Vav allow the people to connect to the water in all seasons. In the last few decades, very little rain has fallen in Patan, so the amount of rainwater filling up the well is reducing with every passing year. This is affecting both the recharging and the groundwater, as well as the quality of the water retained in the stepwell throughout the year, effectively making it unfit for public use, making archaeologists' restoration task much simpler. For centuries, Rani Ki Vav was hidden from the wall, buried under layers of silt and debris. The stepwell's discovery is a fascinating story of archaeological exploration and dedication. In the 1940s, during a period of significant archaeological activity in India, a team of archaeologists from the Archaeological Survey of India began to explore the region. They had heard local legends about an ancient stepwell. but had no idea of the scale and beauty of what lay beneath. In 1947, the ASI undertook a systematic excavation of the site. As they dug deeper, they uncovered the topmost parts of the Stepwell. What they found was astounding. A beautifully carved structure, still largely intact despite being buried for centuries. The excavation revealed intricate carvings and sculptures that had been protected from weathering by the silt. This preservation allowed archaeologists to study the details of the craftsmanship and gain insights into the art and culture of the Solanki people. The rediscovery of Rani Ki Vav was not just an archaeological triumph, but also a cultural revelation. It provided a tangible link to India's past, showcasing the engineering prowess and the artistic brilliance of ancient builders and artisans. In the following decades, extensive restoration work was carried out to stabilize the structure and restore its former glory. The ASI meticulously cleaned and conserved the carvings, ensuring that every detail was preserved for future generations to appreciate. One of the significant milestones in the Stepwell's modern history came in 2014, when Rani Ki Vav was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This recognition was a testament to its historical, cultural, and architectural significance. The UNESCO citation highlighted Rani Ki Vav as an exceptional example of an inverted temple, illustrating the height of craftsmanship in the Stepwell construction. It praised the intricate detail of the carvings and the technical ingenuity of the water management system. In addition to the UNESCO status, Rani Ki Vav has attracted scholars and tourists from around the world. Researchers continue to study the Stepwell to understand more about the techniques used in its construction and the stories depicted in its carvings. Modern technology has also played a role in uncovering more about Rani Ki Vav. Techniques like 3D scanning and digital imaging have been used to create detailed records of the structure, helping in both preservation efforts and educational outreach. The rediscovery and restoration of Rani Ki Vav highlight the importance of preserving our cultural heritage. It reminds us that beneath the layers of history lie treasures waiting to be uncovered, offering glimpses into the ingenuity and creativity of our ancestors. Today, as we're walking through Rani Ki Vav, we're not just exploring an ancient monument, we're walking through history, experiencing a piece of the past that has been carefully brought back to life. The Stepwell stands as a symbol of resilience and continuity, connecting us to a rich and vibrant heritage. Imagine stepping into a time machine and emerging in the heart of an ancient, bustling community. Picture Rani Ki Vav at its prime, a magnificent stepwell filled with crystal clear water, its walls adorned with stunning carvings that tell the stories of gods and heroes. Feel the coolness of the air as you descend the steps, each one bringing you deeper into this sacred space. Hear the echoes of ancient prayers, the soft hum of rituals, and the vibrant conversations of people gathered around. The stepwell wasn't just a utilitarian structure, it was a living, breathing part of the community. Look around and see the intricate sculptures of Asparas, celestial dancers frozen in stone, each one telling a story through their graceful poses. Imagine the skilled artisans who painstakingly carved each figure, their hands guided by devotion and artistic vision. Consider the ingenuity of engineers who designed the stepwell. They created a space that was both functional and spiritual, ensuring a constant supply of water while also providing a place for reflection and worship. Their work was a blend of science and art, practicality and beauty. The journey through Rani Ki Vav is more than a descent into the earth. It's a journey into the past, a glimpse into the lives and beliefs of the people who built it. As you explore this ancient marvel, you're not just an observer, you become a part of its ongoing story. Rani Ki Vav's story is not just about architectural brilliance, but also about cultural resilience. Despite being buried and forgotten for centuries, it has been rediscovered and restored, allowing us to appreciate its beauty and significance once more. It stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of India's ancient civilization. We've covered a number of topics in this video: environmental factors that require the construction of a stepwell, a brief introduction into Indian mythology, the carvings, construction, and the rediscovery of the temple site. Now, what did we learn today from this video? You can say that we have a good idea about the environmental factors that lead us to build certain water structures, and how can religion or belief intertwine with structural effectiveness and functionality, and above all, the creativity. Seeing the creativity of ancient people sparked my inner creativity too. If they could do this, I also could do creative things. And you too. Whether it's in your job or at home, creativity removes the dullness and the routine that shapes many of our lives nowadays. If you reached this part of the video, you're amazing, and I thank you from the deepest part of my heart. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you liked the video, share it with your friends, and don't miss our upcoming episodes on other fascinating sites around the world. Thank you again.